We're looking at an amazing houseplant collection today on Pots and Trowels, and that's brought to you with the support of King Seeds and Cobra Garden. Hello and welcome to Pots and Trowels. Well, lots of people, me included, love to have a few foliage or flowering houseplants in the house. And a friend of mine, Paula, does exactly that. But with Paula, it's just gone that little step further and she's accumulated this huge collection. So I'm going to pop into the house and have a look and catch up with Paula. Aha!
Oh, hello, Martin.
How are
you nearly got...
I nearly got
nice
sprayed to see you nice.
You nearly got misted there.
I nearly got misted. So this is part of your houseplant collection that we're going to have a look at.
Yes.
So tell us, how did it all start? Because I'm looking down the room behind where Jill is with the camera, and it is absolutely full. But, you know, what has made you do all of this?
It's like a jungle, isn't it?
Well, it is, because this is called your...
Jungle room.
Jungle room.
Yes,
So how did you get a jungle room?
Oh, well, I suppose it really started with trying to put an extension on the side of the house, which is north facing, and me not being able to look after my houseplants because they were all scattered around the house in different rooms. And we work outside as gardeners, as you know. And so I used to, just like most people, they'd get left, they'd get neglected. And I thought, do you know what? This room could be built just for the houseplants. And if they're all in one place, I could easily look after them.
Right, and so
I do.
This is an extension, so it comes off the kitchen. We've got this long sort of wide corridor with the dining area at one end.
Yep.
So you literally brought them in, but you've then been adding to it, haven't you, over the last 2-3 years?
Well, it gets a bit addictive, doesn't it? That's the problem. So, and you propagate a lot yourself, so you know you can soon bulk up your collection, but I'm always on the lookout for something a little bit different. And there's so many different ones, aren't there now? And I think bringing the outside in, it has that feel about it. And as a horticulturalist, you want to be, well, I want to be surrounded by plants, and I'm sure you do.
Yeah. Well, you see, we struggle a little bit.
Put this down now. I feel like I've got a weapon.
You do, don't you? We've got a cottage with small windows, and it can get quite dark. But you said this is north facing, so it doesn't get the sun. So how have you overcome that problem of getting enough light for the plants? So you're just choosing plants that will grow in sort of poor light conditions? Yeah,
so a lot of them originate from the jungle, so rainforest conditions, so they don't want direct sunlight anyway. Most of them are foliage type plants in here, and we've got some epiphytes with the Spanish moss down there, and jungle cactuses like the Lysium. With the room being built, I could put in some skylight, so a lot of these are below where they do get enough light.
Yes.
There's only a little bit in the middle that doesn't get enough light, and I've just recently purchased a grow light. Okay. So I have that on in the day now, just to give certain plants a little bit extra light, especially for the winter.
So jungle plants, foliage, they will cope with that sort of shady,
rather than
not brilliant light
flowering
levels.
as such. Okay. Although these guys flower, you get tiny little flowers on there. Yeah, and I've got another jungle cactus, the Queen of the Night, that flowers at night or flowers nocturnally. That's this one. It doesn't look very exciting.
And they're just arranged so beautifully, because you are also a flower range. You've got a real eye for detail and design. So you don't just plonk one on a windowsill. This in itself is this wonderful creation here of houseplants and ornaments, and on a beautiful sideboard there.
Well, we live in this space, you know, and we want it to look nice, and we want visitors to enjoy it too, because when we do the garden tours, we bring people through here to have a little chat about houseplants and hopefully encourage people to have a go at growing a few themselves. And so I like to keep it looking nice if I can. And I've always liked interiors, so it's nice to combine interior design with your plants, really. And they're so good, aren't they, for the atmosphere, air purifiers. Yes. They make you feel better.
I'm breathing so clearly here. and it's lovely because you've got a few chairs, so you can come and sit and read a book and sort of immerse yourself in the foliage.
Yeah, I think that's the thing for everybody that comes in here. They always say, wow, this is just relaxing, you know, immediately. That's what plants do, isn't it? They can bring your blood pressure down immediately.
Now, when I came in, you had your sprayer, which gives a mist of
Yeah.
water vapour. But I mean, obviously you can't spray everywhere because you've got this beautiful,
I know,
it looks
but
like walnut or whatever.
it can't be too
antique.
precious, but I do try and avoid this. But,
Yes.
so I use mats and things like that, and things like this I will sort of move away to give a spray.
Right.
But everything else is fine. It's only a very light mist.
But that mist is important to create that humidity. You don't want too dry an atmosphere, do you?
No, and I do find the winter is the hardest, really. Because in the summer we've got the windows, those doors are always open, so you've got
Right.
natural humidity. But the winter, when you've got all the heating on and everything, it's quite a dry atmosphere. So
Yeah.
you can get a little bit of browning on the tips of the leaves. I'm just maybe there on this parlour palm, you can just see a little bit. So the misting helps with that. It stops them, going brown on the edges. And also in the summer, especially, I give them a little bit of feed in there. So I give them a foliar feed through that. And I bought myself that because obviously there's a lot of plants to mist. So a battery operated paint sprayer does the job.
Perfect.
I can just charge it up and off I go.
And you try and use rainwater wherever you can, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. We're quite limey water here. So I've got a rain butt now outside the back door, and I have a watering can in here that's constantly filled up with the rainwater, so that it gets the temperature just right when you're ready to water. So I
Perfect.
always have it sat in here. So
Great. So do you want to tell us about one or two of your favourite plants?
I know I said ask me about my favourite, but they're all my favourites.
Well, no, they're all your babies. But is there anything? I mean, we're going to go down into the other part as well. But is there anything that is quite special, tricky?
Well, I
to
think
grow?
I always think special plants are special if you've grown them yourself, aren't they? Really, and you can see this avocado
Yes.
in there.
Yes.
I mean, that is amazing, isn't it? How you can just eat the avocado and then next minute, hopefully, I'll nurture that into an avocado
and they make a really
tree.
good plant, don't they? They really do make.
And I've got a coffee here.
Yes. Yeah.
That came from the Eden projects, that one.
Right, okay.
So, and a lot of the plants have been gifted, and they always remind you of who gave you them,
exactly.
and things like this. But I love these Jatropas.
Right, yes.
Because they've got lovely coral orange flowers that sometimes, as a florist, I buy the cut flower stem to use.
Okay.
And I love them because they've got this calyx, so they've got...
is that sort of water storage?
That's where they store everything in there.
So these would naturally grow in a drier environment.
Yeah. And they do actually lose all their foliage over the winter, so you just get left with this bulbous storage organ at the base
so
there.
Don't panic if the leaves fall off. It will
and that's
come
quite
back.
nice. It's quite nice for them to have a seasonal thing.
And I like it that you've also got pops of colour. I mean, you've got some orchids and various things. So it's mainly foliage, but you've got those pops of flower as well, haven't
especially at this time of year, because you've got the jungle cactus or Christmas cactus coming.
So they're going to be in flower soon.
And they can live to a ripe old age, can't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you've got historic plants almost.
Yeah.
One of the jungle cactuses, that one over there, is 60 years old.
Oh right.
Yeah, that was gifted through some friends of mine, which is lovely. And Spanish moss, that's something a little bit different.
Yeah, so that would again grow in the jungles, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so that's an epiphyte. So naturally it'd grow on a tree or something, and that's why it's on a little bit of driftwood there, because that's where it's happiest.
Right.
So it needs no soil or anything like that. It just survives off that atmosphere. So you've got to create that humidity for those.
That one you do have to miss, because that's the only way it gets.
I have to more than miss those.
Do you plunge it?
I do. I have a sink just here, and I every week get them all down. I've got about 17 strands of them now. I know, and I give them a little bath every week, and it keeps them just right. And they've definitely grown. I actually was given these. These were up in the RHS Chelsea Flower Show this year, really high up in that great pavilion for about a week. So they were a bit dry and bedraggled. So I've kind of brought them back to life.
And I see a piece has just fallen off then. So if
you could take that.
You could just hang that. And
I'll give you that, Martin. You can have that.
Really?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Let's see if you can bulk it out at home.
That Jill for a present.
Yeah, that's very kind. She'd appreciate that.
I'll pop it there and pick it up later. Can we go and have a look at your dining area now? Because this is very different to most people's dining rooms. So you've got your dining table in the middle of a jungle, literally. And not only are you surrounded by plants, but they're in the table itself.
I know. I have got a hole in the table. That was an idea I saw somewhere, and I thought, do you know what? As a flower arranger and a florist, every time you invite somebody for supper, they always expect a nice table centre.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'm going to create something I don't have to keep recreating.
Yeah.
So I've just used echeveras. I had the little tray made. It's only a couple of inches in depth. It's very shallow.
Yeah.
And it's perfect for those echeveras because, of course, they're slightly tender. They don't want to be outside for winter. They get lots of lovely light here because they've got a skylight above them too. And they throw out some flowers, which are beautiful, like oranges, little bells. And it creates quite a nice tapestry. So it's very well drained compost in there because there's no drainage holes in it whatsoever. So I have to be really careful not to overwater those. And if I want to do any maintenance, I can lift the tray out, and I have got a piece of wood that slots on.
Right, okay.
If I ever want to take it back to just a table, for instance. But it works really well. People can sit round, they can talk over it. It's a talking point.
Absolutely, yes.
Dress it up at different times of year. Christmas baubles, lights in it if you want, Easter eggs, whenever.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And as you say, we're sitting, there's a big skylight above us, so this is quite a lot of light, not sunshine, but natural light filtering in, and you've got lots of hanging plants all around this area to give that
the devil's ivy, or the pothos.
Do you have to do a lot of trimming? Because some are trailing down a long, long way.
Yeah, you need to trim, especially with the tradescantias. You see,
these lovely ones
there's
here.
lovely Zabuna tradescantias, gorgeous colours. They're known as the inch plant, and I think it's because they grow an inch a minute. They're really quick, but they'll get so heavy. So I have actually just reduced those by half, so it takes the weight out and encourages new stocky side shoots. And then with the trimmings, I root some cuttings, so they're easy to root, just in water.
So
if you
literally
wanted
just
to.
But that in itself is really decorative, isn't it?
Yeah,
To have these
it's
little test tubes
interesting.
hanging.
The roots soon start to form in the test tubes, and you've got yourself some new plants very, very easily.
So a lot of the plants in here, you can just keep propagating and renewing and doing that type of thing to keep them going.
Yeah, keep them healthy, really. And I think having them all here in one space and living in the space, you can keep a close eye on any pest and disease that might appear, because you can mealybug and whitefly and scarryfly, they're all, can easily infest a lot of plants when they're together. So I'm constantly sort of thinning them out, trimming them, and I can see what's happening. Even if I'm sat having my tea, I can spot. You can soon deal with it.
It's all about observing your plants, whether they're in the garden or in the house. That's where you notice if there's any changes, and having them all together makes it work really well, doesn't it? And it creates this wonderful effect.
And keeping them fed on a regular basis and watered on a regular.
So how often do you feed through the growing season?
So through the growing season, I do feed every week in the growing season with it's usually a seaweed mixture, but it's got other trace elements in there, so it's more of a balanced feed. So I drop that into the watering can and sometimes into the mister, so it gets a foliar spray. And then at this time of year, during the winter months, I reduce the feed, and I might just feed once every fortnight. Watering gets seriously reduced at this time of year, but I do step up with the misting because of the drier atmosphere. You've got all your windows and doors, and we might have the fire on, and the dry atmosphere. So more misting, but less actual watering of the compost. And watering in the summertime, not everything gets the same amount of water, because we all kill houseplants with kindness, don't we?
Yes.
And the pot sleeves that you want to put your plant into now, they've got no drainage in the bottom, and it's quite easy to overwater in those pots. So I make sure in all my containers, all the pot sleeves, that there's a bit of gravel on the bottom. Every pot has got some kind of gravel in the bottom.
That's a good tip.
These are the clay kernels that you can
So any
buy.
water running through the compost will be down there rather than the base of the pot sitting in water.
Yeah, and that gives the plant roots a little bit of something to actually go into rather than just the flat of the bottom of the pot. And also that creates, especially in the summertime, a little bit of humidity in there, so it gets its own little microclimate going on there.
So not many people can create what you've done here. I mean, it is amazing. I'm so envious of it. I think we need to take the roof off our kitchen and do this, but I'm not sure that it would work really. So if you were giving some tips, Paula, on people wanting to have a go with houseplants, have you got 2 or 3 that are really easy to grow, that are going to succeed as long as you keep them watered?
Yeah, so I mean, the most robust one is the peace lily. The Spathiphyllum. You'll see I've got a small one in that bowl there. And I mean, if you just got a peace lily, that will tell you itself when it needs watering, because they'll wilt, and then as soon as you water them, they'll perk up.
So and they have these lovely white spats as well at certain times
so
of the year.
they're very robust. You struggle to kill a peace lily other than drowning it. Drowning it can.
So peace lily is a good one.
Yeah.
Another one?
Well, I love the Christmas cactuses, the jungle cactuses, because they'll stand it quite dry as well. Very robust, and you can put them outside in the summertime. Some of the plants do go outside in the summertime, just to give this room a little bit more space, and they do like a houseplant holiday. So they go into a shady spot in the garden.
And things like your Tradescantia you've mentioned, they're so easy, aren't they? As well?
Yeah, well, that is definitely one of the easiest. The Tradescantia peace lily, the cactus, and then any type of ferns. I always find the ferns are really good. This is an asparagus fern it's a Sprengii, asparagus Sprengii. I use that a lot in my flower arrangements that I do throughout the winter time. So as a demonstrator, the houseplants come in quite useful. So when I'm trimming, I'll often use some of the leaves and the foliage in designs that I do.
Nothing goes to waste.
Yeah, nothing goes to waste. And this is a very robust fern to grow. Any of the asparagus group is really good.
Right, brilliant. It looks absolutely amazing. We've not been to see you for a few months, and
has it grown?
It's grown an awful lot. As soon as I walked in the door, I thought, I'm now in the jungle. Next time, I'm going to bring a machete, just in case I need to cut my way through to the dining room table. Thank you,
Might have a few monkeys in here by then.
Absolutely, swinging along the bars.
That's right.
Looks great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for watching Pots and Trowels, and I hope you've enjoyed seeing Paula's jungle room in her house. And remember, all the videos that we've done and our weekly podcasts can be found on YouTube, where you can subscribe for free. We'll be back again next week, so we'll see you then. Bye.